Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Leadership Void Podcast. I'm Enrique with my co-host Vince to bring you the best in our veteran, military, spouse, and first responder community. And Vince will introduce today's guest.
Thanks, Enrique. We're going to close out this month of January with this dynamic duo. They are from Charlotte, North Carolina. We have with us Anita Staton. She is the CEO and president of Miles Enterprise Solutions, and her chief operating officer, Laura Declouet-Smith. Welcome to the show. Please, let's start off. Tell us a little bit about you.
Good morning, Vince and Enrique. Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat with you today. I am a native of North Carolina. Have been here throughout most of my career, back and forth. Did one term in the Air Force where I spent time at David Grant Medical Center, Travis Air Force Base in Fairfield, California. Now, after transitioning out of military service, came back to the Carolinas and started a career in financial services. I looked at a number of different ways to make that full transition, came back to be close to family, had aging parents, and just didn't want to miss those years with them and the rest of the family. So that kind of gives you a story or a basic idea of how I started and my background.
I am the youngest of 11, and I am the first Army officer in my family. So tomorrow makes 30 years that I enlisted in the Army. So I enlisted 30 years ago tomorrow. Not sharing my age, but yes. I enlisted it as an E1. During my tour, I decided that I was going to just do my time and get out. Well, the Army had something better planned, so I ended up going green and gold, and I transitioned to college, and then I actually graduated as an ordnance officer and served my time, did 22 years active duty, and retired as a lieutenant colonel. Now, that career path was very challenging. One of the things, I'm dual military. My husband also served. We both were enlisted. He transitioned as an officer also, and he retired as a lieutenant colonel with 30 years. So throughout that time, we have 3 kids, and each deployment, I've been on 3 deployments, and each deployment we had a child that we left behind. So 1 deployment, 1 child, 2 deployments, 2, the 3rd deployment we had 3. So we did 3 deployments together. We retired, transitioned civilian life, and part of that path is transitioning, and now I'm the chief operation officer with Miles.
Well, thank you both for your service, whether a handful, 10, 15, 30 years, a service to our nation is so much appreciated, and we do thank you for that. Now, Anita, you said you transitioned, you went back home to be near family, and here comes Miles. So tell us a little bit about Miles Enterprise Solutions and how you got to develop that.
Well, when I look back on everything I had done in the corporate structure, a lot of it is what I call it entrepreneurship. And so basically what that means, you've worked within a corporate structure where you were driving the P&L, you were responsible for revenue, for the budget, and reporting within that infrastructure. So having done that, along with other side hustles over the years, right? Different things to keep things going, learning along the way, that education of having worked in a corporate structure prepared me to make that transition. Now, I didn't make it at the timing that I had originally planned, but life happened. And when life happened, Miles was born, actually. I shared this story because I think sometimes when we have those challenges to overcome, we think, oh, stop, pause, don't go any further. But for me, I was at a reflective moment following the passing of my mother, and I had made some commitments in those great discussions we had as she neared the end of her life here on earth. And we talked about being of service. How can you be of service to community? And she challenged me to continue serving. So faith, family, service was always that philosophy. And Miles was born out of that. Miles is what we call the Miles Way is 5 pillars. We provide government solutions. We provide managed services and technology support. We have an education services practice that provides training and workforce development. We support diverse firms, and we also support underutilized populations of job seekers, and we help to support them on their journey. And then that includes our workforce modernization practice. So what you see now is a simple conversation that was held in 2013 to be of service that has now morphed into more of a corporate structure.
That is amazing. I definitely want to give you kudos for something that was so simple in 2013 here, almost at the heels of your 10th anniversary. So congratulations on that. You talk about side hustles. You talk about jumping in to become an entrepreneur. Any tips you like to share about challenges or lessons learned in that entrepreneurship journey you've had?
Oh, there have been many. We'll give the short version today, though. I would say first and foremost is being comfortable with failure. It's not going to always be perfect. Things are going to happen. You get comfortable hearing the no's, but comfortable enough to know that yes is coming. And there are going to be days that you want that yes to happen sooner. But for example, in our government space, right, it's that RFP world. You're writing a response to a proposal and you've got to wait. What did we used to say? Hurry up and wait. It's hurry up and wait all the time, sometimes as an entrepreneur. So I would say patience, be comfortable with failure, but also developing that plan. And I think Laura helps a lot with making sure we're building out those plans.
Yes. And then you also, for us, I'll have to look at the lessons learned. You have to establish goals. You have to, it's okay to write them down, because if you keep them in your head, you're not going to do nothing with it. So you have to put it on a piece of paper. We have a whiteboard. I have my green book, and we're constantly writing something down. And then after we write it down, okay, how are we going to navigate it? How are we going to accomplish the task? We identify that plan. Sometimes it requires us to go back and modify, tweak it, because what we thought that pathway would look like, once again, Murphy comes in and he allowed that path to change. So we're always going back, looking at our goals and navigating how we're going to accomplish those goals and which path and direction we're going to take. We revisit it all the time. And sometimes we even have to adjust that path and that strategy, but we stay on target to accomplish the goals. And so that's where we're at right now. We have some big goals.
All right. And talking about those big goals, let's step into what the future looks like for Miles and what's on that horizon. What are those big goals?
We last year we sat down with a consulting team and developed our 5-year strategic plan. And we understand that it can change. Things can shift all the time. But what it includes more is ensuring that we're supporting missions. We are primarily in that government space. We're in the local, state municipalities we support all the time. 2 areas that we see for growth are federal contracting, making that shift into the federal space, and then also diversifying our customer base. We've got clients, we've got different levels of clients, but just having more so that we're more diverse with both public sector and private sector business. And that's what our strategic plan aligns with.
That's incredible. Definitely. It's going to take you to the next 10 years and 20 years. So Miles Enterprise Solutions is definitely be a force to be reckoned with. Now, speaking of working on ourselves and our leadership and our goal, let's talk a little bit about leadership now. What do you both do to sharpen your skill sets that aid you to thrive in your professional journey and life?
A lot of things we do is, reading, professional podcasts. I'm a listener, so I love to listen to stuff on the radio or on my Bluetooth device while I'm working out. So that's one of the ways that we continue to stay abreast on our leadership skills and attend some leadership conferences. There's always room to improve, always.
Yeah, so we're, as Laura indicated, lifelong learners. We spend our time just reading. One thing I like to do, and we share with each other, is we look at what successful companies are doing. We look at other successful CEO women leaders in particular, because I think the women's journey in leadership can sometimes be different. So we learn from those that are doing or that are where we aspire to be. And by listening to how they arrived and their pathway, then it helps us to anticipate some of the shifts and the pivots that we may have to make. So, we think a lot about mentors, how the mentorship, who's your mentor. Now, because of the technology, you could have mentors globally. They may not know you, but you know them. You can still glean from their practices and their business results. So that is really key, I think, to some of the growth that we have as leaders as well.
Absolutely. And as you talk about leaders charting a path and getting somewhere, undoubtedly you both received some advice that allowed you to get to your path and where you are today that maybe you'd like to share with an emerging leader today.
Wow. I think I would have to say, I know I would have to say, be authentic, be yourself, and accept the fact that you cannot please everybody. That's one thing about leadership. It's a decision-making process, and you have a task. You may have an organization to run. The growth and the success of that organization is important. Everybody may not be happy, but they have to embrace and accept, and you have to make those decisions sometimes that may make other people feel uncomfortable.
One of the leaders that I have been speaking with and has been providing some counseling and supporting in business talks to me about being intentional in managing the business. Be clear about where you want to be, what you want to do, where the company is going, but at the same time, you got to trust your team. Trust your team to help facilitate that forward movement. And then accountability. As leaders, we have to be accountable. I come from a background of sports. I didn't share that earlier, but having played sports, college basketball, I also officiated Division I women's college basketball. And I'm going to use this analogy because we talk about this all the time. If you make an error on the court, you got to live with it and die with it and move on to the next play. What he was sharing with me is be accountable for the decisions you make, good or bad. You've got to live with it and move forward. So that was, I thought, key. We don't have time to just sit and be uncomfortable with decisions. We're not right 100% of the time, but being able to move through that. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, that definitely was. I mean, definitely Laura shared about being authentic, and I'm also hearing from Anita being intentional and having that accountability, because the team definitely is going to move that ball forward to that goal, to that mission, because errors do happen. Great advice for emerging leaders. Now, let's talk about you all, Laura, 22 years in the Army, and we have a great here. Anita talking about she moved back to North Carolina from the Air Force and started this wonderful company. So what memorable leadership aha moments you'd like to share with our audience today?
It would definitely have to be the best leader is one that can follow. You're not going to always be in charge, and that's okay. But you have to be a follower when you're not in charge. So that would be my aha moment. Because being an officer, in your mind, you're always in charge. But that's not the case. You're not always in charge. You're part of a team. You're part of an organization. So when you're not in charge, be the best team member, the best follower you can be.
I think an aha moment for me, Vince, would be, and this is something that someone shared with me years ago is having a discussion and being comfortable that large companies are interested in what we offer. They want to partner with us. And I think an aha moment for me was when we were seated in the table, at the table, representing what we do, and those around us embracing the value proposition that we brought to the table. And this is a large firm that we never had imagined we'd be in the room having a discussion about, and kind of saying to them, here are some things you could do differently, instead of waiting for them to share with us, well, this is what you want to do. This is what we want from you. And the aha moment was for them to really embrace the diversity of thought, the diversity of people that we brought into the room, and to say, yes, we want to move forward with your plan as it is, after they discovered, after a few rounds of back and forth, that what they were doing was clearly not working. So the aha moment was, we bring tremendous value, even though we're a boutique firm, and that value helps our clients move forward, large and small organizations.
Well, those are powerful aha moments indeed. And we were mentioning earlier in the episode challenges and how they come in the most inopportune times in our life. And we all share those, right? Enlisted to officer, service member to corporate to entrepreneur. And we've seen many iterations of those challenges. But what are certain strategies that you both use with yourself or your team to overcome times of change and challenges?
Taking the time to do a self-assessment and self-awareness. One thing about leadership, you have to know yourself. You have to be able to embrace who you are, understand who you are, to be able to navigate and understand others. And this last year, we had an awesome training session where we got to do more of that with emotional intelligence. So it made us realize a lot of things that we may say or do and don't realize that we're saying or doing that may offend others, but it's unintentional. So it's being aware of not just who you are, but how and what you say affects others.
That's a good one. I would say too, challenges, we communicate often, communicate, so that we can, our definition may be different from someone else in the organization of something or of a thing or of a process, of a task. And just having that ability to communicate so that we're able to maintain a level playing field of understanding, where we understand. And then also we, as a result of that, this training that Laura just mentioned, we have this term called the green zone that we've introduced. And it is an emotional intelligence concept of being in the green zone. We had a facilitator come and share a lot with our team. And that's a philosophy of managing our emotions when we're being challenged, if we're in conflict. What are some tips and tools that we can use for conflict resolution, and understanding that the energy you give off is sometimes coming back to you. So if we operate in the green zone, our goal is not to use certain terminology, like Laura mentioned, the woulds, the have to, the shoulds. And now we're starting to operate in this in all elements of our lives. So when we're on a call, we could be on a team call. And it's like, oh, was that green zone language, right? And we challenge each other to improve in that area. So communication, and then the green zone philosophy we've introduced this year.
I'm smiling ear to ear. I love that. That's pretty great, because not only you challenge each other, you hold each other accountable. And it's really wonderful to hear emotional intelligence throughout the culture of Mount Enterprise Solutions. So kudos to you. And Socrates always says, know thyself. So go back to what you said, Laura. So very, important. So folks listening in, they will love to know how to connect, collaborate with either one of you, or get involved with Miles Enterprise Solutions. How do they go about doing so?
They can go to our website, milesenterprise.com, and we're both on LinkedIn. So feel free to connect with us and any of our team members for that matter. On LinkedIn, we've got a team, executive leadership team of veteran women. So feel free to just connect with any of us if you have questions.
All right, folks. So we'll have that information as part of the video and show notes for you to be able to contact Miles Enterprise Solutions or either of these great service women that have not only served our country, but are now serving our communities. And so we'll be able to do that. If you want to get a hold of the Leadership Void podcast, the Leadership Void at gmail.com is where you'll send that correspondence. If you'd like to see other great guests or a topic covered dealing with the leadership, we'll be able to curate that and we'll make sure to cover that information.
Yeah, and today was all about Anita and Laura from Miles Enterprise Solutions. So we thank them very much for being on the show. And our sponsors, we have VEI, FAVOB, and Triple Nickel, taking care of some great things all around the community here in Central Florida and nationwide. But today was all about Miles Enterprise Solutions. Anita and Laura, thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having us and for the work that you're doing in the community as well.
Thank you.